What is Mazal Dagim, and how does it connect to us?
It says in Chazal, it's brought in Shulchan Aruch, that Adar is a very good time for the Jewish people. The whole month of Adar is a good time for the Jewish people. And of course it's connected to the miracle of Purim. The Rebbe mentions in a Sikha that there's a Yerushalmi that says that you can read the Megillah Metchilas HaChedesh, not just Yudal and Tezvav, or your Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, Yudal and Tezvav, but from Tchilas HaChedesh. The whole month of Adar is a special month. And of course, in simple terms, it's because the whole story of Purim revolves around the fact that Haman made the mistake of saying Be'ezeh Chedesh Meis Moshe. In that month Moshe Rabbeinu died, and they didn't know that Moshe Rabbeinu was born. So since Haman's allusion was to the whole month, so the whole month becomes a favorable month for the Jewish people. But of course there's the additional idea that it's a good mazel for Yidden, because it's Mazal Dagim, the mazel of fish, mazel of Dagim. So first of all, let's state the most basic idea. What is the meaning of the word mazel? What is the meaning of the word mazel? Literally, technically, mazel means a drip, like v'nezlim in Levana. Something comes from a higher level to a lower level. In other words, the meaning of the word mazel is a conduit or a channel through which the flow of light, life, and energy comes from heaven to earth. Everything comes from a God, from the Rebbe, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But everything comes from Hashem through screens, through garments, through layers. You want to call them angels, call them angels. Why? This is how the Eibishter created his world. And these angels, these heavenly forces through which there's a flow of light, life, and energy from heaven to earth is called a mazel. And different seasons have different mazalas, different times of year, different mazel. And accordingly, what comes from heaven to earth is affected by the mazel of that season. In other words, just like there's nature on earth, there's nature in the heavens. And just like nature on earth predictably determines what's going to happen, right? The whole idea of nature is you can predict it. The nature of the heavens, which is called mazalos, predictably, it can be determined predictably what is going to come from heaven to earth. And you have different concepts of mazalos. You have mazalos connected to months. You have mazalos connected to hours. You also have a concept of mazalos connected to nations. There's 70 nations of the world. Each one of them has a malach. The malach, which is the sar of that nation, is its mazel. And everything that that nation is going to get is going to be a reflection of that mazel. What's the problem? The problem is that according to what I just described the mazel to be, mazoles are really natural forces. They're not supernatural, they're natural forces through which the heavenly blessing comes to earth. This doesn't mean that there's no intervention of Hashem. It just means that the intervention of Hashem is complicated. Yes, it comes from Hashem, but if it comes through this mazel, it can become in this way, it comes through another mazel, it comes in a different way, and so on. So mazel really is a natural force which affects how the flow comes from heaven to earth, whether it's connected to time, or it's connected to people, or so on and so forth. That is sort of a heavenly order within nature. So the Chazal say, Ein Mazal Yisrael. The Jewish people are not bound by a mazel. In other words, we're not bound by nature. Just like we're not bound by the natural order on the earth. Yidden are a nation of miracles. The Yidden are not bound by the nature of the Mesilas HaShamayim, of the heavenly orders. So the question becomes, if you say Ein Mazal Yisrael, the Jewish people are above mazel, what are we talking about when we say that mazel Adar Dagim, and it's a good time for the Jewish people, and so on and so forth. So of course part of the answer is that Chassidus always says that we say Ayin Mazal Yisrael. That Yidden have a mazel, but that the mazel of Yidden is Ayin. In other words, not that Yidden have no mazel, but that the mazel of Yidden comes from a level which is Ein Seif, which is infinite, which is Ayin, and therefore it's not limited. It's not a mazel that's limited to Teva. So the question then becomes, so why do we associate mazel with Dagim and so on? And the answer is that even when you talk about a nes, even when you talk about something which is not limited in nature, it can come down in a variety of different ways. In other words, the mazel of a yid is the form through which the ayin, the higher than teva, comes into this world. And in this particular case, we're talking about Adar and the mazel of Dagim, fish. And of course, there are a number of ideas which are brought in Chassidus and in Sfarim that distinguishes fish and explains why it's a special time for the Mazal of the Jewish people. First of all, fish are parim v'ravim. Fish multiply much, much more than any other organisms. And the nimshal is that the Jewish people have a bracha of being very multiple, of being very many. And the second is that fish are always covered by their life, by water. And it says in Torah that because fish are always covered by water, there's no ayin hara on fish. And that's the bracha that Yankov Avinu gave Ephraim and Menashe, Yosef's children, v'yid gul arev b'kerev ha'aretz. They should be like fish on the land, that ayin hara shouldn't affect them. And even though the bracha that Hashem gave Yankov Avinu was given only to his son Yosef and his two sons, it's a bracha which has a connection to all Jewish people. Like the Rabbi used to say, we're Zara de Yosef. We're all the children of Yosef, meaning the Frierike Rebbe. His name was Yosef, and therefore we're hired in the Inyan of Ayin Hara. And these are two aspects of what it means that the Yidden have a Mazal. And the Mazal of a Yid is not limited to nature. And at the same time, the Mazal of a Yid is a dog, is a fish, because the miracle shows itself, first of all, in the ability of Yidden to procreate, to multiply, to be many. And second of all, that we have a special bracha that ayin hara does not rest upon us. And of course, there's so much more to be said. The bottom line is, Chodesh Adar is a very special time. It's a time when the favorable bond between Hashem and Yidden is much more revealed. And of course, Chazal tell us that it's mismach giyula l'giyula. In Adar, the miracles that happen have some relationship to nature. But when you get to Nisan, the miracles that happen have no relationship to nature whatsoever. And which is why we do put him in the second Adar on a leap year to bring the miracles connected to nature and the miracles which are higher to nature as close together as possible. And we all pray to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he does the same thing, that the miracles that happen in the Saves Managos, Achol B'nei Yisrael, Hoyer Erbe Meshvesam should be a very hasty prelude to the miracles of the Geula, which are L'mayla Min HaTeva.